Hello, everyone, and welcome to I Am Not Okay with Day. I am your host, Day. You guys, I missed you. I know, it's been so long, and we're not fully coming back just yet, but we are here today for a special bonus episode because one of my very good friends is coming out with a song. So actually, this is one of my friends who was already on the podcast, Alwayne. Make sure you go listen to that episode if you haven't already. I'll make sure to link it in the description below. But he was on the podcast, I think last season, and we had a really, really awesome conversation. And we obviously refer back to that episode because there's so many things that we talked about in that past episode that's relevant to the song and everything that's happened now. And so I I'm so excited that he was able to come back. He mentioned the song actually in the last episode, and so it's finally coming out. It's going to be releasing tomorrow by the time this episode comes out. And I am so excited that he got to come on. We talked all about the song. We talked about his inspiration behind the song, all the things. So I'm very, very happy that he was able to come on. I can't wait for y'all to listen. It was an awesome conversation, and I think it's really going to help a lot of people. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Here is Alwayne. Welcome, Alwayne, for the second time to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here again.
Yes, it's good to have you. We are keeping our word, and you're back here for another time. And I'm so, so excited because we have a lot of exciting things that we're going to talk about today.
We do. I'm
So,
curious. I'm
sure.
I'm interrupting you already. I'm sorry. But how many people have you had more than once already?
I had two of my best friends on multiple times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, just two people. hmm Now
All
you're the
right.
third person.
I love the number 3.
Look at that. So, I just want to, we're going to do our some type of way first, and then we're going to dive into everything. So, I'll start with telling you about something that had me feeling some type of way. So, I've been in these single streets for a while. For it's been 2 years now since I've been in these single streets, and I'm not in a place to start dating yet or anything like that. Like, we're not ready for that yet. But the other day, this guy tried to talk to me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things where, like, when people are talking to you, okay, and I'm really curious to hear your opinion on this as a man. But
Mm-hmm.
so I see this where he's in person, right? I see this man. He's like, hey, like you're so beautiful, blah blah blah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna make any assumptions, but I'm just gonna let you know, like, we're not trying to have anything. And he said, oh no, like me neither. Like, I'm not trying to do that. And I'm like, okay, great, because I'm really getting vibes that you're like trying to flirt with me. And he's like, oh, I'm definitely flirting with you. And I'm like, let's just not. Like, so he keeps on talking to me, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay. I try to escape. Okay. I'm trying to, like, I feel like my body language is giving, stop talking. I'm like, backing up, I'm like, I feel inside my head that I'm being very obvious, like, no. Anyways, so the man asked me for my number. And I gave it to him because I was dumb. I felt so cornered. I know. I felt cornered. I felt like, can I say no to this? Like, how do I do this?
mm,
It's been a while. It's been a while. So I gave him my number. The man texted me immediately. After a while, I was like, I just stopped texting him. I just didn't respond anymore. And I was like, hopefully he'll get the hint. The next day he texted me again, and I was like, I didn't respond at all. And I'm like, okay, this is the second time I'm not responding. Like, I think that you should, like, get the hint. The man texts me a
mm,
next day, the next day. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, why did I do this? Why did I do this? So then I just straight up texted him. I'm like, listen, this was a mistake. I should not have given you my number. I'm really sorry if like you got the wrong impression, but like this is not. Let's just not." And so he was like, "Yeah, yeah, I understand." Great. No, because 2 days later he texts me again with a straight up
Persistent.
lie, persistent. And he totally lied to me. I'm not gonna bait out this man's scene, but like this man texted me again talking about, "Oh yeah, I totally understand that you didn't want us to talk, but I was just reaching out because I felt like I needed a friend and blah blah blah." And I'm just like, I just blocked his
Mm,
number. I just blocked him because I couldn't do it. But my thing is like, I felt very annoyed because I feel like, okay, maybe like as I'm talking to you in person, I'm giving you like the wrong vibe. But then if after I told you specifically no, and
mhm,
I feel like I was clear and you're not respecting my boundary. Like you are like, "I hear that you said no. I don't care. I'm going to keep on going." And then like it really irritated me the last time he texted me because it's like I thought I made it clear at that point and
mhm,
I was like, I'm going to make sure I say everything in a very concise way that cannot be misinterpreted,
mhm.
but he still didn't get the hint. So I'm like, why? Why? I don't want to group men together. I don't want to group all men together, but like, why do men do this? Do you have answers? Like, can you give me some insight onto
Uh,
what's
uh,
happening here?
so the short answer about whether I can give you answers is no, not really, because I'm not that guy.
No.
However, so I always ask the question, um, so why, obviously, if we're like comparing you and I, you're a woman, I'm a man, I'm like 6'3", you're like a foot shorter than I am or more.
Yes.
And so
Okay.
like I have privilege in that sense. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, if I say no, somebody would probably be more likely to accept my no than yours. So I have to acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the same time, I still find myself asking the question, well, why do you give him your number if you're feeling that way in the first place? But I've heard several stories from women who like they based on how they're feeling at the time, it seems like the safest thing to do or something. So they're still so
Yeah, the reason I gave this man my number is because I felt so bad. Like I just didn't know in the moment how to say no. I felt like if I
mhm,
say no, am I going to be like a mean person? It just felt like really like
yeah.
icky. I really should have said, "I'll take your number," but like my brain was not working in the moment. So I
Mhm,
just didn't know how to like shut it down. So I just gave it to him. But you're right though.
yeah.
I really should have said no.
Yeah, and I guess another thing is that guys like the chase. It's like, you know, playing
Why
hard to
though?
get.
Why? What is it about
Is
the chase?
I don't know, it might be an ego thing, or it might be a I think it varies. But so ego is in there for sure. It might be a case where it's like, well, you're saying no now because you don't know me, but once you get to know me, you'll see that blah blah blah. You'll change your mind. And yeah, like if a guy sees someone he's interested in, and is gonna pursue until it's like until you definitively say, I don't want you, I'm not interested. And even then, unfortunately, sometimes,
Even then, because I feel like I said that, but
yeah.
it didn't matter.
So that then you have to, take the measures you've taken, which is black hand has to come out, and that's it.
Yeah, I just don't like that because I feel like it's disrespectful. It feels insulting to me actually
Hmm.
that I have said this to you multiple times at this point and you are not respecting that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I don't know, maybe it is like a chase thing or like for your ego or whatever, but that already is like, I don't want to be with a person who's already not respecting the boundary that I set in the beginning. Like
Hmm.
that's not attractive to me. You know, maybe some women like that persistence, but I just
Hmm.
personally feel like listen to what I'm saying. Like, you don't know me more than I know myself.
Yeah.
So when I say something, I need you to just respect that, you know?
Yeah.
So
And
that just happened.
that's another point also where there are guys who believe that you're saying no, but you don't actually mean no. You just mean try
Right.
harder. So it can be confusing, but ultimately you just hope that whoever you run into is somebody who has respect for you and respect for themselves. And I think sometimes people are also not as observant, or they don't really pick up hints. So sometimes it's hard to be direct because when you're direct and it's like, oh, what's wrong with her? Why is she acting like
Right.
that? Blah 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 blah. But sometimes you have to get to a place in certain situations where it doesn't matter how somebody is going to perceive you, or how somebody you can't choose to protect other people's feelings over your own. So
You
sometimes
better preach.
you just it's not gonna feel good, but I'm not interested, and just cut. I don't want to have this conversation anymore, and hopefully you have a higher success rate, and hopefully they don't try to follow you or something, because then
Right.
that's another story. Might need some pepper spray
Yeah.
or something.
Honestly, I think I need some pepper spray. But like that's well, I've definitely learned my lesson for the next time. So yes, I will be very direct the next time.
Mhm.
Hopefully the next time doesn't come anytime soon. But I'm trying to just avoid this person at all costs.
were you wearing a mask or no?
No.
Oh, oh. See, masks have
Oh,
advantages.
well, the situation is that I was coming to my house. Like I'm going into my
Oh,
apartment. So
did he
I'm
see
not
where
in
you
a
live? I hope not. Oh,
yeah.
well.
So it's even more worse. That's I think that's like the safety part comes in too, because it's like this man is in the same place that I'm in, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What is he gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I need to get myself some pepper spray. I do. But
Yeah.
that's what happened to me recently, praying for the Lord's protection.
Amen.
We've learned our lesson. What about you though? What happened? You feeling some type of way?
Um, so for me, I have been so the last time I was on here, I was kind of working sort of. It was a residency. So
Hmm.
it's like full-time hours, but internship pay, or maybe less than internship pay. It's the
Yeah.
stipend really. So I actually ended up resigning because unfortunately the environment and some of the people I had to interact with, it was really taking a toll on my mental health. Like I was starting to experience anxiety in ways I never
Hmm.
experienced before. And it's just like, this is not worth my sanity, and talking to my wife, talking to other people in the chaplaincy field, and kind of sharing some of my experiences. They were shocked, and it was like, yeah, I don't that doesn't sound like the type of environment you should be in.
Hmm.
So I left, and it's been almost 6 months. So I've been looking for a full-time job, and I'm definitely gonna get to that 6 month mark, I think. And it has been frustrating at times, but I
Yeah.
think I don't know if I've gotten used to being home so much now that I've been this the point where I like it. But at the same time, whenever my wife talks about, hey, let's do this, da, 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 I'm like, with what money?
Yeah.
So this past week, I actually applied for a job at the hospital, and I said, you know what? I'm going to pull up. I'm just going to go there and just see if I can meet the people. And, they'll put a face to the name. Maybe we'll have a conversation and they'll realize that, hey, this guy seems like a good candidate or whatever. And I did that. And I only got to speak to um, I guess he's a manager for maybe like 2 minutes, if that much, because he was rushing. But I did get contacted by HR about a potential interview. So I was very happy about that because it's been a minute since
Yeah.
something like that happened. However, she started like in those pre-screening questions. She asked some things about like credentials and so on, which I don't have yet. And so I started to feel frustrated because it's like some of them, at least in my opinion, I think it's unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, my belief is like, you can definitely find people who have the credentials. So the credentials I'm talking about is like ordination, which depending on the denomination that you're in, it
Mm-hmm.
varies. And like for me, coming up in the Seventh Day Adventist denomination, typically to be ordained as a minister, you have to serve at a church for a specific number of years, so on and so forth. When I went to seminary, I never had the intention to be a pastor, like traditional, and to go
Mm-hmm.
through all of that. So I think the system was set in a way that most people who went into chaplaincy have been pastoring in some capacity before going into it, whereas I was just trying to go direct, like skip that part, seminary chaplain. So that was very frustrating. I felt some type of way because it's like, here we go again. Like another thing that like I know I would be great. I know that I would make a difference, but you know, I guess I just don't have the answers about the process for the credentials and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just annoying, but at the end of the day I have to tell myself, what is to be for me will be for me, and if it's not, then we keep it
Yeah.
moving.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, what is for you is for you. The Lord will work it out.
Hmm.
God knows why you're in this season. We'll talk more about it. But like, I understand those frustrations when it's especially because you've done a lot of the work.
Yeah.
So it's not like you've just been sitting around doing nothing. And then it feels like you are limited because you don't have X title.
Hmm.
You know, I
Yeah.
feel that. Well, I think this is a good segue into talking about you and all the things. So let me give a quick backstory, y'all. So 6 months ago, you were on the podcast, and it's very funny, ironic, whatever we want to call it, because we were talking about burnout.
Hmm.
And then you quit your job like very soon after that episode.
Yep.
I was in the beginning stages of my job at that point. And we were just, it was just very funny. I think very funny that that's what we're talking about. And then the events unfolded.
Mhm.
Um, and for those of you, well, none of you know this, but like after you and I recorded the podcast, we ended up talking for like another hour, just catching up on things. And that is when we talked about the song. But it wasn't, I went back to listen to our podcast. It wasn't on the episode. But at
There
that
was a little
time,
mention of it.
you mentioned it a little bit, but like we were talking about it more in detail
Yeah.
after.
Mhm.
And I remember I was talking, we were talking, and I remember you saying, like, I don't know if I'm going to release this. And I was like, you need to do this. You need to do this. And, fast forward, it was your birthday and you had your birthday celebration, your little Zoom party. And we went on your
Mhm.
Zoom party and you played the song for us. I was so excited. And then at that point, I literally thought, okay, like you're about to release the song. Yes. And then you were like, yeah, I don't even know when I'm going to release this. I'm like, wait, what? What are you doing? You need to let this, like, we need this. We need this. Like, I need this on my
Yeah.
playlist. What are we doing? And and then you blessed us on our social media timelines with the news that you were going to release it let me let me make sure I get the date right. May 20, is it 7th? May
Mhm.
27th
Midnight. So you
at
could even
midnight.
technically, so if you're on like East Coast time or
Mm,
your time, because you're in a
I'm
different time zone.
CST. Yeah.
So it would be 11 for you. So
Oh, May 25th.
it's, yeah. So it's
Ah.
midnight Eastern time.
So basically, what you're telling me is I am going to get a preview before everybody else. That's what you're telling me.
I I suppose.
Yes. So let's just start talking about the song, okay?
Mhm.
Because when we were talking about it, we kind of were actually bonding over the fact that we both went through just really hard stuff,
Mhm.
and you were talking about just like the things behind it. So share with everybody, what is the inspiration behind the song?
Yeah, so the name of the song is I Am With You, and it is really basically like all the hard questions that if you were brought up anything like me, people at church would probably look at you funny if you talk to God that way or ask questions like that. And there are a couple lines which are pay kind of homage to stuff that we've said, or like, platitudes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like one that I use in there, God will never give you more than you can bear.
Mm-hmm.
That I had to stick that one in there because sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
God, like how much do you actually think I can handle? Because
Right.
I don't know what measures we're using, but yeah, I think you might need to revisit this. Um, so I guess based on the experiences that I've been having over, I'd say probably the last 4 or 5 years of my life, um, I've just come through a lot of struggle in ways that I'd never known before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like in my so I'm a Christian, and in my Christian walk, I think it was like very childlike in the sense that the problems you have as a child are not the same problems that you have as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that, like, what might be a big deal to you as a child, as an adult, like, it's like a whole grander scale now. And so I came into a season of life where a lot of expectations for things to go a certain way started went opposite. So a big thing for me was getting married. And in our church we glorify being married, and talk about how great it is and so on and so forth. And like, I enjoy being married. I'm not going to lie and say that I don't. But nobody really talks about the hard parts about being married.
Facts.
And one thing that really, really impacted me was, when we get married, we say the vows, for
Mhm.
better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in
Mhm.
health. But I think that when people say that, it's like, yeah, you mean it, but it's like, worse, better is supposed to be here, worse is over there.
Mhm.
Health is supposed to be here, sickness over there. Richer, we want that. I mean, that doesn't really usually
Yeah.
happen, but
Richer is not quite here yet.
so richer, poorer is
Poorer,
here,
poorer.
but richer is over there. Um, but better and worse, like you expect. But when I got married, I it's like all of the negative ones
Mhm.
happened first. And
Mm.
it was like, what the heck is going on?
Mhm.
Like, this is not what I imagined. This is not what it was supposed to be. And it was like, it was jarring. It was like, it's like my world flipped. It's like,
Mhm.
no, this is not how this is supposed to go. So like, you get married and you expect that your first couple years it's like bliss, everything
Nice.
is nice and all that. And then you expect that challenges will come, but you're not
Mhm.
supposed to have these kind of challenges less than 2 months into your marriage, which I did. And um it was like everything I'd known and believed. Now it's like, I'm a worship leader, worship pastor. I was in Michigan at Andrews University at the time, New Life Fellowship. I was the worship pastor. And in my case, the main cause for this worse and whatever was sickness. And it wasn't my personal sickness, but my wife. And week after week, I had to be singing, talking about how good God is, and Lord, you're mighty and you can do everything, and yada, yada, yada. But my wife is at home. She can barely walk,
Mm.
going to all these doctors, doing all kinds of tests. And they're saying, well, maybe it's this, or maybe it's that, maybe it's that. Okay, let's rule this out, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, 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 months upon months. Okay, let's do this treatment for a month, only to find out, well, that treatment wasn't actually for whatever this thing
Mm.
was, because you don't actually know what this thing was. And like, dealing with that, like in the beginning of our marriage. But I'm still the worship pastor, so I still have this responsibility, not only to worship, but to lead other people into
Mhm.
worship and to talk about God in ways that I didn't even really believe at the time.
Mm. Wow, that's so honest.
And so, you know, I mean, fast forward, yeah, we kind of get through that, but now I'm in this program, um, at this hospital, and here comes sickness again. It's like, it's just not going to go away. It's something that
Mhm.
just have to deal with it. But now, on top of this sickness, I'm dealing with, well, now I can say a lot of anxiety. Um, I would say that I there were points where I was depressed. Um, Maybe not super severe, but it was definitely like I was going through periods where things that I was able to do easily was now like I just well I'll just do it later. I'll do it, and then
Mhm.
I just cannot. I literally could not make myself do that. So I'm like going to work where I'm listening to people sharing their stories about all their experiences, everything that they're going through, some extremely sad, really taking a toll on me emotionally. And then I leave that and my haven that I'm supposed to have. I come home. Here's my wife who's dealing with sickness. And so, like, things are not balanced because, like, all she's trying to do right now is survive. So now I'm trying to take care of me, but I'm also trying to take care of her and then turn around, go back to work the next day to
Mm.
take care of people. And so there's just like this feeling of just being overwhelmed with emptiness and like, man, how much of this can I take? And I guess
Mhm.
like a lot of anger towards God because I have this expectation like, God, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. Like, I'm not a bad person and so on and so forth, which I
Mhm.
think now at this point, being more mature, I can say is faulty thinking because I don't think that God owes me something because I behave a certain way.
Yeah.
But at the time, it's just like this expect everything that I expect went the opposite way, which is kind of how life is. But
Mhm.
so I
Can
was
I
dealing
tell
with
you?
all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am listening to you and you're basically me. We went through I mean, not the exact, but like I think very, very, very similar experiences. That expectation. My marriage started out horribly
Mm,
and it ended too, but hopefully that's not your fate. We're praying that that's
mm-hmm,
not what's going to happen for you. But like, I had the same experience where things started off very rocky. I
mm-hmm,
was not prepared for this. And I had to go and pretend like it was fine and help everybody and be the strong person. And meanwhile, I was dying on the inside, you
mm,
know? And I mean, it didn't happen for me until years later when I finally came to terms, that lesson that you talked about, like knowing that you don't God doesn't owe you anything. And just because I followed the rules, because I had that exact same mindset, I
mm-hmm,
did everything right. Why
mm-hmm,
is this happening?
mm-hmm,
And God doesn't owe us anything. And now I think even the spiritual journey that I went on sounds very similar. Of like later on is when I figured out, oh, okay, so this is what it really is. I had to
mm-hmm.
you're telling me, Lord, I had to go through that in order to be who I am today,
Yeah.
And so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's very interesting. A book that really helped me process through this was this book. I think it's Timothy Keller. It's called The Prodigal God.
Mm,
I don't know if you ever heard of that book, but basically it talks about the story of the prodigal son,
mm-hmm,
but actually also focuses on the brother who stayed. And this was like mindset shifting for me when I read that book because I learned that just as much as people always preach and they talk about the one who left, but there's people in the church who like that expectation mentality, like I did everything the right way, I did
mm-hmm,
everything I was supposed to, therefore God, you are supposed to treat me this way, you're supposed to do this for me. But that's a faulty mindset because that's not how grace works.
mm-hmm,
Grace is a free gift for any and everyone. simply because God chooses to give it. And so there's nothing that you or I could do to make ourselves more deserving of that grace, or that whatever measure it is that we get. So like it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to look at people and it seems like, things are going well for them and so on and so forth. Why does it have to be so hard for me?
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, like, you can never compare your story to somebody else's story,
Exactly.
because like, what's your life and your experience like, that's what affects you a certain way will affect somebody another way, and so on and so forth. And so as it relates to God, um I had to come to a place where I could say that, well, if am I serving God? This was the point. Am I serving God for what God will do for me?
Mm.
Or am I serving God because God is so worthy, period?
Mm-hmm.
And so once I was able to answer that question, it just changed the way that I looked at things. And, obviously, still, the situation sucks,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
hurts. And there are times where I'm still angry with
Mm-hmm.
God or angry at God. And, you don't say that to the wrong group of Christians. Like, how dare you be angry with God? Or and like, what aren't in Jamaica they say, free lightning strike, or like this beam of lightning is going to come down because
Right.
you dared to say that you're angry with God. But if you read the Bible properly, there's lots of people in the Bible who were angry with
Yeah.
God. And, you know, I personally believe that it is okay to express that anger. And furthermore, I also believe that God giving us all these emotions, like, we wouldn't get these emotions if there's just a list over here. These are the ones you can use, but the ones over here you don't. I don't believe in that. And I
Right.
think that God is big enough to handle all of our emotions, whether emotions are just emotions, but for this conversation, we can say positive emotions and
Mm-hmm.
negative
Mm-hmm.
emotions. Like, God can handle both
All of
or
it.
all of them. And so, you know, that it's also very helpful to be able to express it. And so I think, for me, with all that I went through, it's like I was carrying a lot of anger with God still that I hadn't really expressed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. Somebody very close to me said to me when I was kind of relating to him about what was happening, how my life, and my wife, how things were going. And, he empathized, but he also said that, you know, God allows these things as fuel
Mm.
for worship. So, like, you're someone who's leading people in worship, like, this is fuel for your ministry. And, for some people, that sounds like harsh in a sense, like, well, God, why does this person have to go through something to be able to? But it hits different. Like, when you come through
Oh
something,
yeah. It be hitting, everything hits
it
different.
hits different.
Everything. Yesterday I was watching church crying, just
Yeah,
crying, and from a song that
yeah.
someone was singing, and it just was like, oof, you really. It's that same thing of like you have that experience when you have that experience yourself.
Hmm.
everything changes, you know, or
Yeah.
it's not just words, like the words mean something, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's the place where I was in, and let's see, the date was October 4th, and I remember the date
Yes.
because it was that's my sister's wedding anniversary.
Okay.
And so on that particular day, I had just met with my at the time supervisor, and a very it was one of the um in terms of like the session that we had individual supervision weekly. And that
Mhm.
was one of the ones where we just like he just essentially like I wasn't doing well and he ministered to me. Like it wasn't all about okay, what are you learning? You
Mhm.
know, how are you with this, da, da, da. It was just like, okay, this is what I was able to talk about what I was going through and like express how I felt. Like we ended the session with a hug. Yeah, COVID, whatever,
Mm.
but whatever. And I had talked about how, I have all of this pent up emotion and I'm just not able to cry. That's something that
Yeah.
we talked about the
Yep.
last time.
Yep.
And he said that it will happen, the tears will come, and when they come, you'll be safe. Something like that.
Mhm.
And I leave the office and I guess couple hours later I was in the section. There was like we would share a room, myself and the other resident, and I was in there by myself, and out of nowhere, like I used to write songs all the time as a kid, and I hadn't written a song in years.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, the words to the song just started coming in my head.
Mm. Mhm.
And so I just pulled out my phone and just started typing in the notes app. And after I think I typed two verses. It literally just flowed. Like I didn't have to, okay, what rhymes with it? Like none of that. It just flowed.
Mm. Mhm.
And I had, I think, two verses and the first part of the chorus. And then I needed to go visit some patients. So I said, all right, let me record a voice note. So I remember the tune. And I did that. Went to see who I was seeing, came back into the office, started
Wow.
writing again.
Yeah.
And then when I went home, I did I finish writing? I think I finished writing most of it then. Came home and picked up my guitar and just started kind of playing. And um, when my wife came home, I said I wanted to sing it for her. And like the verses, like, so there's three verses. I actually added the third verse, not in that first day, but maybe a week or two after somebody recommended that just structure wise, there was something missing. So I added that
Mhm.
third verse afterwards.
Mhm.
But the verses are like these questions that, so like if you read the Psalms, you'll see people say, how long, oh Lord, must I suffer or this and that and da 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 da. So the first, I can say this because I already posted this. The first words of the song are, how long will I cry out? Underneath doubt, I'm searching.
Mm.
And so the first two verses is like all these questions in that kind of theme. Like, God, how long am I supposed to deal with this? Like, where are you? You know, said that you would, you would always be with me and blah
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 blah, but I don't know where you are. And then it's just so crazy. Like I can't even explain how it came this way, but the chorus is like circumstance, God responds. Circumstance, God responds. Circumstance, God responds. Circumstance, God responds.
It's giving Job.
Which actually, this I guess this is kind of a plug. I have written a song about Job that
Oh, okay.
is probably, well, I won't say better. I'd say just they're different. The Job song is like a corporate worship song, whereas
Mhm,
this one
mhm.
is a more like listen, reflect. Like, of course, you can sing along, but the Job song is made for it. It kind of has that very Maverick City like spontaneous
Yeah.
type of, yeah. But yeah, so my wife comes home and I make it through the verses of the questions. And then I start singing the chorus, and the part where it's like God responds, it's like there's just a pin, and I was a balloon filled with water, and somebody
Mm,
just go, and I just started to bawl.
mm. The dam just
It
overflowed.
just overflowed, and
Wow.
yeah, it was a very sacred moment.
Mhm.
Like my wife is not used to seeing me cry like that, but she embraced me and we just cried together. And I,
Oh.
I actually thought that I might cry every time I sing the song. So far, I haven't
Wow.
cried again, but
Maybe in the first performance, like when you do it live, you
yeah,
never know.
yeah.
I think too, like things, like I said, things be hitting at different moments. You
Hmm.
just never know?
So I will say, at during my birthday when I shared it with
Oh, I cried
those
during
who
your
were
birthday
there,
share.
I remember. I remember.
Oh, you saw me
So
crying.
I didn't. I think you had said in the chat
Oh
that
yeah,
you
I
were
told you
crying,
I'm crying.
but I had a huge lump in my throat. I was.
Mm,
I almost cried, but it was very emotional
yeah.
when I shared it. But
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Wow. So, I mean, it's just crazy because it's also one of those things where, like, literally the darkest of times produced something so beautiful and so meaningful and something that I think is going to bless so many people, you know? And I
Mhm.
just love that for you. I'm just so happy for you, truly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because I'm trying to remember. I think it probably was that same night because I wrote the song. It was on Monday,
Yeah.
and so my music director or former music director from New Life, he's like one of my closest friends.
Mhm.
I hit him up instantly because I was like, I needed to hear this, and my sense, funny enough, was like that same day when I wrote it, I was like, I think I need to record this song.
Yeah, I was getting to that. But go
Yeah.
ahead. Just start telling us, okay?
It, yeah, it was like, I think I need to record this song.
Yeah.
And I think for some reason, so he and I were supposed to talk. Maybe, I don't know, if I think it was maybe like a Tuesday, like the day after. And we didn't get to talk because on that day, again, story of my life, my wife. was feeling ill and I had to change some plans. I had to
Mhm.
like leave my car at work and take a train to her job to pick her up to take her home because she wasn't feeling well enough to drive. And so like I remember being so frustrated that man, I was really looking forward to meeting up with him, man. So I end up sending him the words ahead of time via
Mhm.
email, and he read them, and it was like, "Yo, these words are so powerful." And so maybe a day later or 2 days later, we finally connected. And when I sang the song to him, he says, in only the way he can say, he's like, "Yeah, bro, you got to put that on wax." And so I hear that, and like I understand that means that I need to record it. But I
You
say
have
to
to
my
put it out there.
put that on wax. I say to my wife, she's like, "Put that on wax?
Yeah,
What's
I've never
the?" It's
heard
like
that.
it's a real thing, but it just means that you have to record it. And so yeah, so that was October, and so I'm like, yeah, I want to record this song. Didn't have any plan per se. And then I don't remember how, I guess it's been a while because I think I remember he posted recently that it's been a year. I'm talking about the Todd Delaney. So his
Mhm.
company Delaneyland Music, I think, has been in existence for a year now. So I had seen the ad, record this number of songs for like super low. Um, and in my head, I'm just thinking, I'm getting a stipend. I don't have no money to record anything now, but when I start working for real, I'm gonna record the song. But then he comes out with this Black Friday special and goes on Instagram and has a live. And I'm on the live because Todd Delaney is like my favorite gospel artist. And he did a giveaway thing. And he asked a question thing, what's the name of his third album or something like, and I'm like, oh, that's easy. Type in the answer. It's like, oh, somebody already got it. Wayne Allen. So that video is on my Instagram. And I'm like, I won? I'm so, I was just so surprised. And it was so interesting, just the timing of it, because I had a song that I wanted to record, didn't know
Mhm.
how I
Wow.
would or when. And then this thing just
Boom.
happens. So,
That's
yes,
when we say, "Look at God," okay?
exactly. Exactly. And so the resources came about thanks to my very supportive wife. And so we paid for the package. So it was like a one song with a consultation with Todd Delaney, which was like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to Todd Delaney. And so, yeah, I left. My last day at the residency was December 3rd. And I think I started the process like December 13th.
Mm.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And boom, the rest is history.
The rest is history.
It's just the way that God works out things, the timing of everything. It's always so perfect. So tell me though, because December and now we're in May. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
months.
That's a
What
lot of months.
what was the delay for you? Because it sounds like the song was done in December, right?
So the song actually was done the day before my birthday.
Okay,
Like
in January.
complete. So my birthday is January 29th. The song was complete on January 28th. Like it was, I went to the
Mhm.
studio maybe like the week before that to record my part. So it was just like the mixing and final tweaks and so on. So I got the final files the day before my birthday.
Wow.
So originally, my plan was to release the song on my birthday.
Right.
And it was like when I realized that that was not going to happen, at least not in the way that I thought it was, because as I'm learning,
This is
nothing really
life.
goes the way we think. That's life.
Literally, like probably the first season of my entire podcast. That's all I talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was a very special moment to share it on my birthday with friends and
Yeah.
family. So in a way, I did kind of
Yeah.
still
You
do
did
what I
release it.
said.
A
Yeah,
soft launch. Soft
right,
launch.
right. And so after that, it was just like, oh, okay, my birthday is gone now, so I don't really know when to release this song. And you were one of the people who you were like, all right, yeah, you need to put this thing out into the world. Don't take
Yes.
too long because people need to hear this. And I was like, all right, we'll see. But I think it was about like March. I think around March. I was like having conversations with a number of different friends. And like every conversation, it was just like, man, everybody seems to be going through it right now. And I'm just like, well, I think my song would really speak to that. But
Mm-hmm.
what good is it to say, well, hey, I have this song, but I haven't released it yet. So unless I'm like emailing to everybody, here's the song.
Right.
It was like after a couple conversations like that, I came to a place where I just sensed that God was saying, all right, it's time now.
It is
It,
time.
it, it's time. And so ironically, so I did mention the Job song. So the name of that song is Job 42.
Mm,
I will see you. Um, I wrote that song in January. Like I think it
mhm.
was January 9th. And just because of the style of it or whatever, my thinking was that okay, I think the style is like it would it would cross over into multiple spaces, like whether it's a black church, white church, multicultural, whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas even though this song I think has elements of gospel but as well as contemporary Christian, I think it's a little more to the gospel side. So with the Job song, I was thinking like this song has a bigger reach. It's a worship song. So like it would probably I thought that I should put that song out first, but the only
Mhm.
problem is I haven't actually recorded that song yet.
Right.
And so I'm thinking like my first single, it should probably be that song, and then I'll put this one out after. So
Mm.
that was also part of the hesitation because at the time I said, well, this is a better song. But
Mhm.
now
Mhm.
maturity and time has said it's not better, it's just different. So that was also part of the hold up. But
Mhm.
I just started to sense that no, this needs the message needs to go out there. And so yeah, I started the process doing my research on how to upload music to streaming and contacted a friend of mine from my days at NCU in Jamaica who does graphic
Mhm.
design. So all the artwork and stuff, all the teaser things that I'm putting out, that's his design. I can't wait to. Well, I don't know why I'm not calling people's names, but his name is Ruel Jones. So you can check
Yes,
him out
plug
on
him.
you
Okay.
can check him out on Instagram. I don't know why I'm like doing all this secrecy. But Ruel Jones, super talented graphic designer. Um, so all the artwork, he was the one that designed it. And even that was an interesting process. So I'm gonna say this here first, whether it will drop before I put the teaser, we shall see. But I'm super, super, super excited that there's actually going to be a lyric video for the song.
Okay, we fancy. I love it.
And I think that it's very important because the words mean so
Yes.
much. And I think having that visual representation of the words, I
Mhm.
just think that it's going to just be a special addition. Plus, it'll be on YouTube. So for people who don't pay for streaming, then you
Right.
can see and hear it there. So that will be coming on the same day, so May 27th. So I think it's gonna be great.
I am
Uh,
so excited.
yeah. So yeah, and so the person who designed that video, her name is Joy Chikwekwe. Super
Okay, Joy.
talented.
Yes, she better
So
do.
I'm trying to plug all the
Plug all the
people.
people. Okay.
So my friend
Yes.
who I told you about in the beginning, who said to put the song on wax, his name
Mhm.
is Adrian Murray.
Yeah.
And Adrian, like, I don't know, the Adrian is just that's my guy. Like I love to worship with him. And he said to me, yo, whatever you need, bro, whatever you need for the song, just let me know. And true to his word, like whenever I was submitting stuff and like getting stuff from the Delaney Land people and like going through my review process, I'd be like, Adrian, listen to this, what do you think?
Mhm.
And I wouldn't send them my feedback until I talked to Adrian. And they had recommended that I get live bass guitar on the song. And Adrian plays like at least 5 instruments, one of which
Wow.
is bass. And I was like, why am I going to go to the company when I could ask my brother? And
Right.
so I asked him if he would be willing to, and he said, bro, I would love to. And you know what's crazy? Adrian's bass part in the song is the only part of the song that I changed nothing. Like he sent me a
Wow.
take, I listened to it, and it was perfect. Like I didn't have to say, I like this part of
Mhm. Mhm.
it was perfect. And
Perfection. I
so
love it.
yeah, so those are my plugs. Music, Adrian Murray, um, album artwork, Ruel Jones, lyric video, Joy Chikwekwe.
I
I have
love
to
it.
plug my people.
Yes, everybody check all of those people out. So tell me, now that the song is going out there, it's going to be into the world, in the ether. What
Mhm.
is it that you hope to happen from the song? What are your hopes?
Well, maybe I should save this for what God has taught me.
Well, let's just go there then. How about that? We can go there.
What I hope for is that God will do whatever God wants with it. And
Hmm.
it will go as far as it's God wishes for it to go because
Hmm.
I'm not going to set an expectation for it. Like I want as many people across the world as possible to hear it. Um, like I believe that the message is extremely powerful and like that's not because I wrote it, but like it already impacted me.
Yeah.
So
And me too.
I know for a fact that it's powerful. And so like would I hope to like go to many places and sing the song, yeah, that would be cool. If it doesn't happen, I'll be fine with that as well. If 10 people stream it or 10,000 people stream it, then that's 10,000 or 10 people who never heard it before that have heard it. And I hope that it will be for them what they need in that moment, and that reminder that no matter what situation you are facing, no matter what circumstance, even when you're mad at God, even when you don't trust God, that God is with you. And I know a lot of times in our theology, we teach about, you know, this great miracle worker that God is, and God is all powerful and this and that. And I believe that God is all those things. But at the same time, as a chaplain, I've also learned that there are times in this life where people go through immense pain and suffering, and there are no words that you can say that will
Mm,
make it better. There's nothing that you can do that will make it better or change things. But what you can do is be present and be there with them. You might be there in silence, you might be having a conversation, you might be crying together, you might be doing something that might distract them from whatever they are feeling, but you're there. And so, in the same way, that's kind of how this song looks at God. Like, even in the times where, you feel that silence, is like, God, where are you?
mhm.
God is saying, I'm with you. So, even though it looks and it feels like crap right now, just know that I'm here
I
and
love
I'll
it so
always be here.
much. Ah, love that. Well, something that God has taught me recently, I've actually been doing this. I don't want to say study, but like I've been reading this book called Unrealistic Faith by Pastor Snell.
Mhm.
Everyone, that's a plug too. Everyone, go get that book. I wish it was close to me. I don't have it close to me right now, but I've been reading that book. I've been telling all my friends about it, buying it for all my friends. Okay. It's
I
been
didn't
so
get one.
good. Okay. I'm going to send you one then. But the book is called Unrealistic Faith. Get Unrealistic. And
Mm,
it's talking about having unrealistic faith. And, the whole premise of it is that as Christians, as people who believe in God, we're not supposed to be realistic because when we have faith in God, that's not like the thing that's common. Like it's not based on reality or being realistic or thinking of like all the limitations to the plans. When you have faith, there are no limitations and
mm,
um there's no like end of opportunities. And
mm,
so I think I've been in a place in my life now where I am I feel like I'm going into like a transitional phase where I'm like, Lord, you just guide me. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm in the place where like I am not making the plans.
mhm,
You show me what to do. And so let me not say I'm not making plans. That's not true. But
mm,
I have been working toward an unrealistic goal.
mhm,
And so my steps are like moving toward that. And I'm just in that journey of faith that God will help me to reach this unrealistic goal. And so I think so many things have been happening in my life where, yeah, like you, a lot of my friends are going through it too. And I feel like this theme of just unrealistic faith has just been present in every aspect of my life.
mhm,
And so I think like the main thing I'm learning is if you're going to have unrealistic faith, it's going to take unrealistic steps that might
mm,
look crazy. It may not look like to the person on the outside, it may look like, girl, what are you doing? But in order to be prepared for something unrealistic. You have to walk in the unrealistic things on the daily.
Mm,
And so
mhm.
that is something that I'm practicing, and honestly, like, God has been answering prayers, let me tell
Come
you.
on, God.
Listen, it's been like it's just I mean, I don't know why we doubt him ever, but, like, there'll be times when you believe it, but then when it happens, you're like, "Oh my gosh,"
Mhm.
like, you're like, "You really did that," you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm in that space right now. And I guess I just want to encourage anyone listening that God is capable of doing
Mm.
unrealistic things, period. Whether we're on
God is
board,
able to do
come on, sing.
just what he said he will do.
Okay, preview.
That's not my song
Yes.
though. That's Darwin
No, I
Hobbs
know, I know. Well,
and
preview
Dietrich
of that
Haddon.
voice. Preview of the voice. That's what I'm talking about. But yes, yes, like you God, he be doing his own thing. We don't need to be
Mhm.
on board. But your life can be 10 times better when you do get on board. And so get on board, y'all. Get that unrealistic faith because literally your life will be changed. I'm telling you.
Mhm. Come on
So
now.
that's it. Let me not continue preaching. Okay.
Have to break
But
out the tambourine.
ah! Yes, but thank you so much, Alwyn. Okay, so go ahead, plug the song, tell us everything. Where's it going to be at? When's it coming out? Well, we already know when it's coming out, but let's remind the people, just in case they were not listening. When's it coming out? Where can we listen? All the things.
Yep. So the name of the song is I Am With You. And the name of the artist, who is me, is Alwayne Channing Allen. That's my full government. So it's all on there. It was so another plug. It was very important for me to put the Channing in there because just paying special homage to my dad, whose name is Channing, and it's a legacy thing to to have your name out there. So
Yeah.
mommy, of course, I love you. You mean everything. You're the world.
Her name is Alan too.
But your name is also Alan. So, but yeah, I Am With You by Alwayne Allen drops midnight Eastern time, May 27th. So if you're on the West Coast, that would be 9 p.m. for you. Mountain time, I guess that's 10 Central time, 11. If you're somewhere on the other side of the world, you just add hours.
Yeah.
Um, so it will be on all major streaming platforms. So there's Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Pandora. I think it'll even be on Shazam. So if you hear it somewhere and you
Oh,
don't have it, you just do the
what is the song
Shazam.
called?
Again, I am with you.
I love it. I will do all the plugging too in the description. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be dropping this episode May 26th. So that's
Ooh.
going to be the day before it comes out. So we're going to get everybody prepared. We're in the mindset, we're ready. It really will be coming out a few hours later
Mm-hmm.
in this day when this is out. So all the information will be out there, y'all. Check the song out. Support my brother. Let's get this song listened
Uh-huh.
to. Yes, go ahead.
And don't forget, there's a lyric video that will be on YouTube.
Yes.
So I'm thinking,
I can
so
link
hope
the video too in my YouTube video.
perfect. So there, I think even if you listen to the song, I definitely think that you want to see this lyric video. Like I just got it back last night and it's so perfect.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait because, like, I'll say that when I heard the song in your birthday, it wasn't fully clear. So
Mhm.
I'm very excited to listen to the headphones, listen
Ah,
to the
yes.
speakers.
Use
I'm going to be
headphones,
listening to it
speakers.
at all. Can't wait to be jamming in the car on
Mhm.
the speakers and the headphones. I'm going to be the person giving you like 10,000 streams,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you. Come on. Let's let's
I'm
let's
so
let's go
excited.
viral. Like
Let's do it.
I've never
Let's
been
do
viral
it.
before. I'd love
Neither
to
have
have
I.
something go viral, but
You could make your little TikTok dance to the songs. I don't know.
I want to
Ah.
sing it so bad. But uh, if you have to go on my Instagram for snippets, that's
Yes.
all.
Which why
That's
don't
all
you
you're
plug your
getting.
Instagram? Plug it. Let's
So
follow
my
you.
Instagram is Alwayne Channing Allen. So just at Alwayne Channing Allen. Alwayne is Alwayne. Channing, just like Channing Tatum. You probably know who that is. Allen.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've
I'll put
posted
that in
some
the description too.
snippets.
Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, there's some snippets there you can, but by the time you finish watching slash listening to this episode, the song will be here. So you
It
don't need
will.
snippets anymore.
Exactly. I'm so excited. Well, thank you so much, Alwayne, for coming on the podcast. I am so happy that we got to talk through this. I always just love to understanding the meaning behind artists' work. And so I think that's just so special that we got to talk about this. I feel like this is like an exclusive, like,
Yeah.
first person that's getting this information. So I feel very excited, very honored. And everyone go listen to the song.
Thank you so much for having me.
Until next time, y'all. Bye.